Okay, so the first topic is what are LLMs, Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, and what can they do and what can't they do? So what are their limitations? What are they good at? I have given talks about LLMs before to non-tech people, and I have some very strong opinions because a lot of times, let's say Sam Altman, the owner of ChatGPT or CEO, will say things that are inflammatory or will overpromise what AI can do. And this is really common in the tech sector right now because they're trying to get funding. So they're trying to oversell what they can do in order for funding to come pouring in. ChatGPT, Claude, LLMs are not brains. They cannot think. They are language prediction models. And what that means is they use complicated mathematics to add weight scoring to words and their relationships to each other on a scale. So let's say your iPhone or your phone, if you're using Android, has a prediction text. So you write, I will be coming, the next one might be home soon. So it'll have those 3 suggestions. You click one, that is the right one, and then it continues the sentence. It can very accurately predict what you'll say to finish the sentence. Not always, because as humans, we have quite unique ways of thinking. But that's sort of how it works on a small scale. LLMs, what they do is they take that idea and they just make it huge, billions and billions of pages on the internet that have been scraped, given to a language model. And through that huge amount of data, they're able to much better predict sentences, able to create paragraphs, able to write pieces. One thing is if you ask an LLM to write you a novel that goes over a certain word count, it will start to misspell names. It won't remember the plot. It needs to basically predict based off of the most recent thing it's been using. So it doesn't really have memory. It can't learn. There's none of this sort of anthropomorphizing that we attribute to things. It doesn't have that. And so a lot of times when people think that they're hurting the LLM's feelings, it doesn't have feelings. It does have tokens, and there's different tokens are quite a vague word in tech. It does have sort of like a pleasure and a pain sort of a reward system. It's kind of hard to explain. It's a little bit like Pavlov. And so if you say, good job, it kind of gives a little uptick and like, oh, good. And it tries to steer in that direction. And if you're like, you are a piece of and you say bad things, it does sort of get like, oh, don't do that again, switch behavior. So it does have this sort of programmed into it by humans and this sort of reward system that you can use to shape it. But another thing that's super important is that it's trying to please you. It's trying to give you answers that you want. So if you come in asking a question on, let's say you want to know if turmeric is really good for your health, but you're very biased in that it is good for your health and that you think all, herbal remedies are the best thing in the world. And you come to ChatGPT and you say, tell me why turmeric is the best for this, or why is it a godsend for that ailment? ChatGPT will respond to you in a way that's like, yes, it is really good for this. Let me give you a breakdown, no fluff. And it always sort of tries to appeal to your bias and to your way of thinking. So it isn't very good. Let's say you have an idea or you want to be challenged or you have a business idea that isn't actually good. ChatGPT will tell you it's great, even if it maybe isn't great. And so that can be a bit dangerous for some. And it has actually led to a few suicides, some deaths, and ChatGPT is being sued for that kind of behavior because it does support bad things as well as good things. So it's really important in today's day and age, as AI is relevant and prevalent everywhere, to really use your critical thinking skills, know what's going on, and know that it is not a person, it is not a brain, it is an LLM with clear goals to please you, to use tokens, and to try to collect your data. It's biggest surveillance machine in the world. And I'm not super tinfoily hat. We've been spied upon by Facebook, by Google, by everything. ChatGPT is just another tool for gathering information on you. So be careful about sharing medical records, be careful about sharing personal information, and most importantly, do not share your API keys or your protected keys on ChatGPT because it's been shown that sometimes these chats can be linked and people will take your API keys and will run up your bills like crazy. So anyways, I will explain some of these concepts further on, and I'll stop my rambling because I know I can talk a little bit too much. One thing I'd like to note is that because I can talk quite a bit about these topics, I'm going to add a transcript to each of my videos. So you can just read it. You can use ChatGPT to summarize my transcripts. And then I will also add text that you can read through with all the core relevant points. I wanted to do videos and I wanted to do text and I wanted to do quizzes because I know that there's a lot of different learning styles out there. Some people like to listen to rambling, and then some people like to just read, and some people like to take the guides and the text. So whatever is most comfortable for you.